Why should you believe in creation and not evolution? I mean, scientifically speaking, haven't we proven that evolution is a fact? Well, evolution is a very broad term, but while most people think of slow changes in the animal world, the theories of evolution also require very specific geological activity and lots of time. So let's look at evolutionary chronology and its implications. Now, we spent a lot of time at David Rives Ministries focusing specifically on scientific evidences confirming the Great Deluge of Noah's day, because this catastrophic event is key to understanding much of the geological and paleontological world around us. Let me see if I can sum up why there's so much controversy concerning the age of the Earth. You see, because we see riverbeds eroding at slow rates today, and we see very few animals being preserved as fossils today, evolution interprets this observation from a uniformitarianist perspective. This is the idea that the present is the key to the past. In other words, they take current values of erosion and fossilization, and then they extrapolate back into the past at the same slow rate. This certainly would give the appearance of an Earth that is millions of years old. I mean, on the surface, that seems like a pretty fair scientific approach. However, these calculations are ignoring one extremely important historical event. You know which one I'm talking about. In fact, this event is recorded in hundreds of cultures around the world, and many of the flood legends have very similar themes. You see, but one account gives not just more detail, but detail that is typically found in history books. That's the one we find in Genesis 6 through 8. As opposed to fairy tales and legends, which are usually very generic, lacking in detail, the biblical account is full of specific detail. The exact dimensions of the ark, the age of Noah when he entered, the number of days it rained, the height of the waters, the time before the flood waters abated, the month, even the day of the month when the flood started. This is a real event being described, and it's a real event that seriously alters uniformitarian dating methods. We've seen that small-scale catastrophes like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and floods can quickly create geologic formations that would have normally taken thousands, if not millions of years based on the slow erosion rates of today. But if those small-scale catastrophes can have such profound effect on the geologic record, then imagine the effects of the global deluge. So a scientist might take the historical record of the flood and make a series of scientific predictions. We would expect to find layer after layer of sediment, our water-lane strata, stacked on top of each other. We would expect millions of animals to have drowned and been covered in the soft mud. We would expect many of those animals to have been preserved as the layers of mud were compressed under tremendous amounts of water. We might expect that some of the organic material buried in between layers would create organic coal and oil deposits. We would expect to see massive mountain ranges pushed up as the still pliable layers were shifting. We would expect to find indications of past volcanic activity throughout large areas. We would expect there to be a genetic bottleneck at the time of the flood. We would expect a wide variety of species to be culled to extinction or near extinction around the time of the flood. We might expect new sets of adapted species migrating to certain regions and thriving. We might expect an ice age perpetuated by weather patterns immediately following the flood. We would expect to find evidence of people groups with very primitive needs taking to caves for warmth in the years following the flood. We would expect a global human population consistent with extrapolations from the date of the flood. Should I go on? In fact, there are tons of predictions we can make based on the biblical account of the flood. And what we would expect is exactly what we find. The flood upends the entire evolutionary doctrine of eons and long ages because it would have caused the very effects on the natural world that we see when we use the sciences to observe nature. What I'm saying is that modern science is pointing to the validity of the global flood. Just one more scientific reason that you shouldn't believe in molecules to man evolution. It takes a lot of faith. I'm David Rives. Truly, the heavens declare the glory of God.
David is host of the television show Creation in the 21st Century, as seen on TBN every week, reaching millions of homes around the globe. Sign up for our email updates at davidrives.com to receive free content and videos.